Good morning, friends. I am here with my coffee. Leo. Who else is a Leo out there? We love to talk about ourselves. Not all Leos, no, but anyways, I wanted to talk about tarot this morning because that's what I do, and I have an awesome course launching next Tuesday. And today I really wanted to focus. Yay! Helene is Leo rising, and she is a rock star with an awesome book coming out, a whole kit where you can read your own palm. So you should pre-order that on Amazon like now. Debbie, hi. Hi, friends. Oh, yay. I love all my friends having coffee with me, or tea, or golden milk, or water. Just remember to hydrate today. I won't stop, Helene. I will always sing your praises because you're fabulous and amazing. Good morning, Shelly. So we're going to talk about tarot. Particularly one card. I just want to give you a taste, of what we're going to dive into in my embodied tarot course. And also just if you want some info. Yay, Ellie has coffee. Ellie, you're all the way in Scotland. Cheers across the pond. That was not even an accent, sorry. It's early. I slept in because my kid's away with the grandparents. I miss him. I really do. Let's sleep. Okay, so, sorry, I have a little table over here. I'm getting Nine of Swords. I want to talk about how you can work between different decks, because sometimes you have a deck you just don't really resonate with, or there's particular cards in that deck that look different from the standard interpretation of a card. Or you just have a deck and you should be able to look at the card and read it. You should not have to rely on a booklet. Is it wrong to look at a book? No. But the book's definition is not the be-all, end-all, this card will always mean this every time. That is not how I use tarot. And I think by now, having done so many readings over so many years, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I know a thing or two about tarot and how to give people really good readings that truly help them understand their lives and their situations better, that truly work in the way tarot was ideally designed to work. It's not a fortune-telling tool or game. It is actually a resource for accessing some really deep truth, okay? So that we can make better decisions and move in the direction of creating the lives we most want. So I'm going to talk about the Nine of Swords here. These are two very standard depictions of the Nine of Swords. So here has a man sitting up in bed. There's 9 swords behind him, and he's covering his face. Same here, but with a woman, because yay, by nowadays, tarot cards have evolved to include things like people of color and people in wheelchairs and women and in positions of power. So it's great to learn with the standard tarot, and we've evolved, and so it's nice to have decks that reflect who we are and what we know to be true. So, but these are both two standard images of the Nine of Swords. Anyone, whether or not you know what this card means, whether or not you know what the nines represent or the swords represent, you should be able to look at this card and have a sense of what's going on here. What do you feel when you see that? What do you think of when you think about yourself? If this was you, put yourself in the card. This is what I mean when I talk about embodied tarot. It's about your relationship with the cards, okay? So you don't have to know, you don't have to look this up in a book. Look at it. If you sat up in bed at night covering your face, what might that mean for you? Maybe you had a bad dream. Maybe you remembered something you forgot to do. Maybe you are really sad and have had a hard loss in your life, or there's something you're stressed about. Especially because, hey, there's 9 swords on the wall behind you. What could that mean? Like if you really sat up in bed and there were 9 swords right there, you might feel a little nervous. Like, oh, what if one of those swords fell down? Or like, is that really there? Like, am I hallucinating? Am I still in a dream? All of that. Just sit with a card and feel into it. That was you last night. Oh, Shelly, I'm sorry. That's tough. I'm really sorry. So yeah, Shelly, thank you. So Shelly sat up last night with her first really bad headache. She's getting these infusions like my husband Mark gets, IVIG. And some people can get really bad headaches from that, even when you're super hydrated. So hydrate even more. But that doesn't always help. So feeling that, like remembering how you felt when you sat up in bed with a really bad headache and what that is like to be like alone in the dark, or maybe, you got people there, but you're the one awake at night. Oh my God, I'm in pain. Oh my God. And it like feels kind of forever. It's disorienting. You'd rather be sleeping. All of that is Nine of Swords. Okay, so you're already reading the cards. You didn't have to look that up. Here's another more normal depiction. Here, this is Shelly last night. Oh, Shelly. She's actually clutching. Her face isn't covered, but she's clutching the sides of her head, and her face is kind of green. All right? So she's not feeling good. She's not feeling good, and those are some really sharp swords behind her. Okay? All of these are in the vein of the more standard Rider-Waite-Smith depiction of the tarot cards. I'm going to show you some other decks to give you examples, okay? Because there's layers to every card, and I actually will read cards differently, and you have permission to do this as well. It does not make you a bad reader. It actually makes you a good reader when you shift your interpretation of a card based on the deck you're using. You should be responding to the images. There is a reason you are working with that deck for yourself that day, or if you read for other people, there's a reason. You know how sometimes you're just called to like choose this deck for this person, or you're just called to walk out of your house with a particular deck of cards, or you just happen to find a deck and it's like, okay, I'm gonna read with this now. Those are not accidents. Trust that. Trust and work with the images on the card you're using, rather than holding yourself to like, oh wait, now I see this image, but like the Nine of Swords, isn't that normally like someone's in bed and they're awake at night and like it's like nightmares or confusion or pain or bleh. But like, what's this? Okay, well, I'm using my Raven's Prophecy deck today. And so I'm gonna work with this. Good morning, Tam. It is a beautiful morning. I hope it's a beautiful morning where you are too. So this is a hand, and the reflection is the skeleton. It is also kind of creepy, a little bit, unless you really like skeletons. It's sort of like, ooh, is this like some skeleton hand like reaching up to touch me? Is it like an X-ray image of my own self? We're not really sure what that is, right? But you get a kind of like weird feeling from the card. It too is Nine of Swords, right? So looking into this is presenting another layer to the Nine of Swords. And when I use this deck, I work with what these images say to me. That there's a sense of like, I want the truth, but I'm also a little scared to go there. Like when you have a nightmare, right? And you're like, wait, what does that mean though? Like at first you're just like, oh God, that was scary and weird and I need to feel safe again. But like, there might be a message in there for me. What? They're not touching. See? Yes. Noticing all the details in the cards that they're not quite touching. It's just like barely like, not fully ready to go there, but I know I need to. And that's kind of what the nines represent. You're nearing a stage of completion because we're not quite at the 10 yet. We think about the bigger picture with these cards. But a 9 represents moving into the end of a cycle. Okay, so you're almost, oh, that was the back of the card. Almost there, but not quite. You haven't quite accessed truth, knowing, that's swords, knowledge, wisdom, but also conflict and tension and pain. I mean, swords cut people, right? And kill people. So here's another depiction. I'm showing you all the things, and this is what we're gonna be doing in the embodied tarot class too. We're gonna be getting a really intimate, beautifully felt understanding. You're gonna know what each card in your deck means to you, and you're gonna be able to pick up any deck and read it without having to look at a book. Promising this. Okay, so this Nine of Swords, I love it here. I call it the gnarly 9. It is gnarly, right? It's gnarly. is some kind of gross, nasty claw hairball thing with maggots and eyeballs coming out of it. Yes, Jen, wrestling with death anxiety. I'm guessing you're probably talking about that one, but yes, this one too. So exactly, and what it means to you, because someone else might not have that, but if you're the one reading the cards, this is a way of connecting with your intuition. It's pulling on your brain files, your emotions. Those are all valid. If you limit yourself to what is in a book, not everyone is going to wake up and wrestle with death anxiety, but a lot of people do. And if that is what is true for you, then that is how you should read the card, right? That is exactly how you should read it. And when you give that reading either to yourself or to someone else, and you include that layer of information and emotion, that is when people start crying. That is when people are like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I hadn't connected yet. That is what's going on for me. All right? So your readings, when you bring yourself into the cards, and when you bring the cards into yourself, your readings are magic. Your readings speak to people at a very deep level. Your readings will speak to you at a deeper level. That's why I don't get tired of tarot no matter how long I've done it, because every reading is unique and every reading is evoking feelings and emotions and like telling the story of the human experience in such a beautiful way, but bringing layers of meaning into it. Okay, I could wax poetic on this forever, y'all. I just love this stuff. So this is from the Wild Unknown deck. A lot of people have this deck. Gnarly 9, but the swords are like stabbing it. So when I'm using the Wild Unknown deck and this card comes up, I read it as this person is actively wanting to cut through the things that are sabotaging them. If I was reading with this deck, you might be a little further away. You might be like, oh, I'm so tired of having this nightmare over and over again, or I'm so tired of this headache, or like, I just want to sleep. You know, I just want to sleep. I want to get back to sleep. I want to be comfortable. They're a little further away. This card, you're a little closer to that 10 because it's like, I'm tired of this. I'm stabbing this. I'm getting rid of this gnarly thing that's been sabotaging me. I'm getting rid. Good morning, Julie. Hi. We're talking about the 9 of Swords and how to embody the cards so that your readings can be like better and more clear. So the gnarly 9, just stab that shit. Get rid of it. These are the thoughts we think that tell us we're not good enough. This is like anything that runs through your mind that's like, oh, this is going to be so big and scary. This is impossible. You're not worth it. You're ugly. You're stupid. Fuck that shit. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. That's how I read that card when I have that deck. There's a reason I'm using that deck. There's a reason it's showing up for that person. Okay? Bye, Helene. Have a great day. Kiss your kiddo for me. Gosh, she's so cute. Hi, Sasha. Hello. Good morning. So I'm also going to show you what happens when you pull, when you're using a deck. This is my Housewives deck. This is 9 of Swords in that deck. I really like the Housewives deck. I love almost all of the cards in there, but you know, sometimes you have a deck and there's like 1 or 2 cards you just can't connect with. That's the 9 of Swords in the Housewives Tarot for me, because there's a woman down here, she's smiling and she has a big like sword, knife, dagger, and then there's a lot of different sharp tools that housewives might use, or anyone, but you know. This is 1950s housewife themed deck. So scissors, steak knives, garden shears, there's just 9. But it just shows 9, and then grandma's down here like, I'm gonna like be a psycho killer. That just doesn't really speak to me at an emotional level. So when I have that, I just think of, and this is why I do advocate working with more than one deck, even when you're starting out. It is, you don't have to. Now, you can take this course and only have one deck. That's totally fine. I just really, I have experienced that working with more than one deck really does deepen my overall understanding of tarot. So I can know that 9 of Swords, I've seen it in a million other decks. This doesn't speak to me, but 9 of Swords, this is when I would, like, I can't really drop into this card. I could maybe, and maybe you can, it might speak to you more. Maybe you can drop into Psycho Grandma, but then that's like, okay, it's confusing. Like, this card does speak to the confusion that the Nine of Swords can represent. And a little bit of that creepiness. Actually, I'm starting to understand this card better. I think before I never noticed her as much, and I just would see all of these like sharp implements and be like, oh, y'all are helping me. This is helping me. I'm actually like, oh, I guess I could have. I see more in this card now. And that can happen. I've had this deck for like almost 3 years now, and I'm seeing it in a new light now that I'm actually taking time with it. So, but let's pretend Grandma's not here, and it's literally just 9 swords. I've seen so many decks like this where it's literally just, there's gonna be 9 swords on it, and there's not a lot you can connect with. My advice in that situation, unless you're like a super minimalist person and that just really does activate some emotion or something within you, I would get a different deck. I need to be able to connect with the cards. But what I do, like let's say there's 9 swords on a card, I would go to what I know of my other experiences with 9 of Swords. And so there are times you just, no matter how much you try to sit with a card, you're not going to connect with it. And that's when you can expand to work off what you feel. When you start to embody the cards, it's not just a memory thing. It's not just like, I know 9 of Swords in the past has meant this. It's that I've felt it. I remember reading for this one woman who like got the 9 of Swords, and it was such a moment of triumph for her to realize, I just have to move through the nightmare. I just have to like look a little deeper here. And she had this big shift and release. That is what awakens in me when I think of 9 of Swords. I think about the connections we've made over the years. I think about what that card has felt like in my being. And so I'm not recalling information that's stored in my brain. I'm activating a felt, sense-based experience of each card. So it's really helpful. So those are just some examples of the 9 of Swords. I could go on all day. I have like 5 other decks I could show you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wrap it up because I do have to get in to work. I have clients today, but my class, my embodied tarot class, if this has whet your appetite at all, my embodied tarot class launches next Tuesday. So you have a little less than a week now to sign up. There's a payment plan available. There's also, you can pay in full, just a one-time payment. I'll post those links in a second. But I'm excited for this class, and I can't wait to dive into a really juicy, intimate fluency with tarot and help you activate that, because it really is life-changing when you do. It's such an amazing tool to have. So have a beautiful day. I love y'all. See you soon.